Joining us from Robert Half International, the recruiting manager, Sari Cantor. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
We're talking social media mistakes, and what a great topic to hit on, because it seems like everywhere we're going, people are attached to these phones. They're looking down. They're not looking up. It's happening at the office. It's happening at the dinner table. And we're going to get to a lot of the mistakes that people are making. I have a lot to get to, so I'm gonna start with the don'ts, and you're going to give us the do's.
Absolutely.
All right. So don't be one-sided when using social media sites.
I think it's key to understand that the purpose of social media is to be interactive. So, listen to what other people have to say, give them your opinions, try and stay away from controversy, but make sure that the communication is appropriate and it flows both ways.
Are we looking at it in all aspects, from like Facebook, Twitter? Is this kind of an overall picture?
Yeah, we're talking about Facebook, the major three. So if we talk about Facebook, we talk about Twitter, we talk about LinkedIn. The purpose of them, contrary to a website, is that you can interact. We can go back and forth and communicate.
Okay, another don't. Send generic messages to all of your LinkedIn contacts asking for recommendations.
Recommendations can be key to a LinkedIn account because it is a referral process and it does give testimonial to you. But in the event that you're asking for a referral, make sure that you ask one-on-one. These are personal conversations that need to take place. They're not mass emails that go out. And furthermore, it increases the likelihood that you'll actually get a response when you're asking for a one-on-one favor than when you're emailing it out to 100 of your closest friends.
When you get the mass email, you figure somebody else will take it.
Exactly.
Somebody else will answer them for them.
Exactly.
Okay, don't post anything you wouldn't want a potential employer to see, especially embarrassing photos.
I think the overall image that you convey online, whether it's using Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, is meant to be a professional image. So make sure that the pictures that you have of yourself online convey the image that you want. The articles that you attach to your websites, your LinkedIn accounts, convey the stance that you take, the opinions that you support, that they're not controversial, that they're not something that's going to get a rise out of someone else. And it's certainly, if you find pictures of yourself on other Facebook accounts, to untag them and to understand what your digital footprint is out there.
Can I take a little side note here, because it's difficult to tell a 15-year-old girl right now that these pictures maybe 10 years down the road will affect,
Absolutely.
It could affect potential employment. So you're really looking at right now the people that are in a professional setting, and just hope that the younger generation just moves on and grows up a little bit with
and
that.
as they grow up, understand what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And the easiest way I tell my candidates is keep a LinkedIn account for your professional site. Keep a business account that's LinkedIn, that has all your professional contacts. It's used for business purposes with a separate email account. And if you want to have a Facebook account for purposes of keeping in touch with friends, contacts, things like that, then you can use that for much more social purposes.
Don't post negative comments or criticize others when using Twitter.
Twitter has instantaneous feed and it has an instantaneous read, so people get it right away. So if you have a direct message for somebody, use direct message. Send them an instant message to have a controversial conversation with them. Take it offline, speak to them one-on-one, pick up the old conventional phone to talk to somebody if there's something that is bothering you. But tweeting back and forth of inappropriate messages is not appropriate because the audience can be so huge.
It is a big audience. Don't poke business contacts.
I think the best way to keep up your online image is certainly to keep your profile up to date. So if you're using LinkedIn or you're using Facebook, keep the profile up to date. Keep it value added. Provide blogs, articles that are relevant that other people can find, as opposed to constantly poking and friending and connecting with people. If you keep your profile up to date and current, people will find you.
Okay. Don't reply to all on your work emails if your message isn't relevant to everyone. Oh gosh, I love this.
I think it's key. Just look at the message that you're sending, and then look at the list of recipients that are receiving the message and ask yourself, is this message appropriate to everybody who's on that email? And if the answer to that is no, then start deleting who the message isn't intended for, or send it one-to-one.
Or to the original sender. Don't distract others with instant message pop-ups during business meetings.
This is a big one. When you're doing a presentation or you're presenting to a meeting, turn off your online communicators, turn off any online chats that you may be doing, because the pop-ups become distracting. They just pop up in the middle of your presentation if you don't attend to them.
And speaking of, don't host a phone video or web conference without first learning the technology.
Right. Well, the technology is ever changing. So if you're going to run a Skype interview, or you're going to use video conferencing or teleconferencing, then make sure that you're familiar with the technology. Keep it up to date. Make sure that you troubleshoot any problems. Do a test run beforehand so you don't waste people's time when you get online.
Okay, speaking of wasting people's time, you actually have some interesting photos to show us as well, because oftentimes you can be in a meeting, at a board meeting. Well, I don't know if we have the photos right now, but to be able to see people, someone's at the top doing a presentation, and it looks like maybe people are taking notes or they're writing things down, but you've got computers and laptops and phones on the go.
Well, you've got PDAs now. People bring their smartphones into meetings. People have got iPads that they bring into meetings. At the end of the day, the more technology you bring into a meeting distracts and diminishes your productivity level. There's less attention you're giving to the task at hand. So there's times to be plugged in and there's times to be plugged out. And I think the key is knowing when to be plugged in and plugged out. And the same thing goes for social media. The more you log on to that Facebook account at work or that LinkedIn account at work, it's decreasing the amount of time you're actually spending doing the job that you're paid to do. So make sure that you're plugged in at the times that your job requires such, or that it's appropriate to be, and plug out at the times when it's really not required of you.
One of the photos had someone that was on Facebook at work talking about how boring work was.
Exactly. The message says enough.
There you go. Thank you so much. And of course, Sarah joining us from Robert Half International. Great to have you here on the
Thanks
show.
for having me again.